Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the penultimate round here of the Midwest F1 season for Division 1. Tonight we're at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Quebec, Canada for round 14 out of 15. Our second to last round on F1 23 as well. And, I'm not going to lie to you, we only have 13 cars on the grid tonight. This may very well turn into more of a highlight reel or condensed replay. It's difficult because I think, with that new game being out, that doesn't matter as much as how much it's actually killed League Racing EA. So it's very difficult to do this sort of thing. But what I will say is this: we do have a points battle in the happenings as far as the drivers are concerned. Top two go like this: Palmer at 688, Scornsey 669. Very close between the two. 6 points separate Mackie in third at 532. Edwin and Race Day separated by 33 points, 496 to 463. Callie Robb and the Plums, 6th, 7th, Chuck Blaze in 8th, Gunner 9th, and Swee is 10th. And as far as the constructors are concerned, Alpine lead the way at 1,006 points, Aston Martin 959, Williams 893, Ferrari 886. Mercedes 763, McLaren 725, Alfa Romeo 687, AlphaTauri 644, Haas 620, and Red Bull 609. That's a look at your driver and constructor standings here, as we're just going to be waiting for our first couple of cars out on track. Very tight and tricky, got to be wary of the wall on the outside, and then going through 5 into 6 and 7 now. Take as much. Oh, and he's taking too much there on the inside. You want to take a little bit, not that much. And now it's race day 2016, about to begin one now. Let's go along with race day here, as in towards the first corner he goes. Very quick on the way in, uses all the entry curb through 2, hangs it a little bit wider in order to get some straight line speed. Oh, we might have that Alfa Romeo in the way through 3 and 4. I tell you what, he's held that chicane so nicely. Through 5, Alpha doing well to get off to the side. Through now 6 and 7, 2.5 tenths of a second quicker through Sector 1. Tell you what, very much looking like this lap could be for provisional pole here. In now through 8 and 9. Used a lot of curb on the way in through 8. We don't typically see that. Race day former champion in his own right here in Division 1. Through the hairpin now. A little bit tighter than the apex or rather than most drivers have been taking it. But being a tenth and a half off of the leader for the time being, well, must mean that he's doing something that the others aren't. And he's gotten a good toe there from whichever Alpine it was. Through Wall of Champions. Oh, I mean, that's one of the better goes of that corner you'll ever see. And across the line is race day. 109, 828. Improves by 3 3/4 tenths of a second. And that'll put race day about 2 tenths ahead of Palmer. Palmer, however, starting one here. Let's go along with the Alpine as he makes his way. Heading now towards turns 3 and 4. See where he's at the timing line. Yep, 1/4 of a second quicker. Done very well for the time being. May have the Ferrari to give him a tow here. He's a little bit too far away. Just over 7 minutes remaining here in the qualifying session. Oh, I tell you what, he's not taking turn 8 as clean as I would have liked to have seen, but it's still not bad. 2.5 tenths of a second quicker through Sector 2. And now he'll have the Ferrari, I believe that's the Plums ahead of him. Either one, if he gets a tow from the back of the Ferrari, that's going to be hugely helpful, which it looks like he will. Through Wall of Champions. Oh, I tell you what, he's even done that better than race day, and I thought that was perfect. He's done it much quicker across the line, 109 636. So, 2 tenths of a second now in the favor of Gott Palmer. Reimer doesn't typically leave these laps so late on in the session like this. Usually, throughout the majority of the session, you'll see him near the top of the table. Not the case at the moment. Although Purple Sector 2, naturally, as he's not done a time prior to now. But, either way. 2.5 minutes remain. Heading into the Wall of Champions chicane is the McLaren of Reimer, as he's exiting the final corner now, looking like it could be halfway decent. And across the line he goes up to fourth, 1:10.263. Not bad at all. Of course, he's behind that pole time by about 6.5 tenths of a second, but that's a respectable lap there from Reimer. Now coming out on track, we've got Race Day, who is actually beginning what'll be his final attempt now. Let's go along with Race Day. He needs 0.2 of a second here to get himself on pole position. Palmer has, well, he's only exiting the pit lane now. Race Day heading into turns 3 and 4. And now through 6 and 7, I believe it was an improvement through Sector 1. But now, the problem is for Race Day, he will have traffic ahead. He's picked up a slight toe there from Travis Scott on the way into turns 8 and 9. Well, he's taken it cleanly, has to be said. No complaints from me. Coming up to the braking zone here shortly. 9/1000ths actually slower going through Sector 2, but that is a gap enough to have, improved upon. But for Race Day, this obviously is going to be his final attempt of the session here. Oh, look at this. The toe between the two McLarens. Oh, you just love to see it. 1:05 remaining. If Race Day nails the chicane here, which it looks as if he has, I tell you what, he could very well be on for pole if he holds it together, and across the line he does. 1:09.419 for a driver who was slower through Sector 2. He has provisional pole by 0.2 of a second, and you have to say Reimer did play very well to that with that toe that he orchestrated down the casino straight. It will be probably up to Palmer now, Scornsey as well. Scornsey looks like he's going to be beginning his timed lap now. Palmer will follow suit, and in between them it's Nicky 64. But final attempts of the session underway. Scornsey through 3 and 4. Oh, he's gotten really slippy through the transition through 4. And he's now slower by 1/10.5 going through Sector 1. You have to say that could be the end of the lap before it's hardly even started, really. Palmer is actually slower through Sector 1. Well, that I didn't see coming. Slower through Sector 1 is Palmer. Slower through Sector 1 is Scornsey. Heading towards the chicane now. Well, he's about 1/10 down. Yeah, it's going to be a lot to make up here in the final sector. Palmer on the way in to the chicane. Where's he at? Well, he's improved by 1/10.5. But give or take what he's gained and now lost, or lost and now gained through the lap so far, I tell you what, it's going to be very, very close between him and Race Day at the line. He's got to nail Wall of Champions. Scornsey coming up to the line here. I don't believe he'll be improving. No, he doesn't. He's slower by 1/10. It's going to be up to Palmer now through the chicane. Oh, the back end's gotten away from him there. It's going to be very close at the line. The final attempt of the session. And I think he's taken second. Yes, he has. It's Race Day on pole. Tell you what, he's only just lost about 1/10 there going through Wall of Champions. Well, matter of fact, he's gained 1/10 overall. Race Day atop by 1/10 over Palmer. Third is Scornsey. Fourth is Reimer. Fifth, Callie. Rob. Sixth, Nicky 64. Seventh is Sweet. Actually very close there between 6th, 7th, and 8th of Plums, as well as 9th of that of Scavney as well. Brett is 10th. Travis Scott 11th. Gunnar is 12th. And 13th, rounding out the grid, is Houdini. So Race Day on pole, only just. Palmer looking in there as well. And Scornsey looking to regain some ground in this championship battle. Should be a fantastic race here. We'll just have to wait and see. Here we go now for the penultimate time this season. Midwest F1's homecoming in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. It's lights out and away we go, and Race Day has gotten away well, but Palmer's gotten away just as well. Side by side, going into the first quarter, you could argue Palmer's gotten away better. He'll have the inside line through 2. Scornsey's held off Reimer for the time being. Scornsey's actually going to try it round the outside of Palmer as they make their way heading towards 3 and 4, and Scornsey actually has gotten that maneuver made. Very nicely done from Scornsey as they snake their way through Sector 1. Race Day leads as it looks behind. Cali Robb trying to find a move past Reimer, who, starting on the hard tires, we kind of thought was going to be off to a struggle here, and it certainly appears so. Down to the inside, Cali Robb, as they go through turns 8 and 9. Not a common place to make an overtake happen, but they're going to try it anyways. Reimer's actually going to cut the corner pretty much. Cali Robb, I thought, gave him enough room there, but maybe Reimer thought differently, and that's why his has gone wide. It'll be side by side between the two. And it looks as if Reimer's actually going to be pushed out wide, I think, on his own error. Still side by side. Remember, these two started battling going in towards turns 8 and 9, and only now, as they head down the Casino Straight, does Cali Robb actually get ahead of the McLaren in question. Beautiful first lap battling between the two. And after the first lap, it'll be Race Day crossing the line first. Scornsey does get Palmer and gets second. Palmer falls to third. Cali Robb up to fourth. Reimer down to fifth. Nicky and Sui have stayed the same. Gunner and Houdini up 2. Scavney's made the place over the Plums. And that's about it for the time being. 35 laps of this Canadian Grand Prix. DRS to be activated next time by. Race Day for the time being won't need to worry about that. Already 7.5 tenths clear of Scornsey for the time being. Next closest battle is Scavney and Sui back here. For the 7th spot, they go through 8 and 9 now. Scavney having only made up 1 position on the soft tires. That is a little concerning if I'm him. You know, you've got the best tires on the grid. You may want to start getting aggressive in these opening stages. Unless perhaps do you go for the, try to take the softs as long as you can and then try to take the hards as long as you can. Just the one-stopper. Not exactly a valid idea anymore. It used to be. Down the pit straight they go one more time. DRS will be activated here. So Scornsey, if he holds on to the back end of Race Day, he'll have that going out of turn 7 in towards turns 8 and 9. Palmer, for the time being, will have that back to Scornsey as well. Although that DRS with 8 and 9 does not matter nearly as much as the one going down the Casino Straight. Which is interesting because at the end of the Casino Straight, obviously, is the Wall of Champions, where almost nothing is ever going to happen to that corner. You know, as far as 2 cars trying to go into 1. It's an interesting kind of complexity that this circuit brings with DRS. Speaking of DRS, here's Scavney to the inside of Sui. That move was being lined up last time by, and it looks as if the AlphaTauri will make it happen. Although Sui, well, I thought you could have argued got away better out of turn 9, but they still end up with Scavney ahead. And now down the Casino Straight. Palmer's got DRS to the back of Scornsey. Matter of fact, Reimer's actually gotten around Cali Robb for the time being. Yes, he has. I mean, it's still very close between the two. Reimer does get ahead. Mickey64 trying to poke his head into this battle. Not quite there. But Reimer will get his 4th spot back. As Gunner will actually get around the Plums going in through Wall of Champions. Well, I'm allowed to be wrong every once in a while. I certainly am at that point. I didn't think we were going to see a move there. We did. Or, well, you didn't, but it happened. So closest battle now between Sui and Scavney once again. Also, the Plums in this as well. I tell you what. Oh, we got a yellow flag behind. Travis Scott's out of it. That's a big crash. Brett Drives Fast has gotten into Travis Scott. Oh, I don't know if Travis Scott has actually lost that on his own or he did have help from Brett Drives Fast. What we do know, Brett has a front wing gone and a 5-second penalty. Now, I couldn't tell, but from what it looked to me is that either Travis Scott lost the car and slid across the circuit, or... well, either way, the DNF came because Brett is driven into the side of the Alfa Romeo. He wouldn't have lost... I mean, Travis Scott wouldn't have retired from, that kind of slowish looking of a head-on collision. So we can assume that that was kind of more in the way of Brett Drives Fast, perhaps. Maybe it was just error by Travis Scott and Brett had nowhere to go. And unfortunately, we're not going to have a good look at that. But we are now down 1 here, entering the 5th lap of the Grand Prix. Reimer will inherit the lead of the Grand Prix. Nicky will get 2nd. Scavney will get 3rd. As the rest of the grid in for stops. Scornsey to the hards. I'm assuming Sui will go to the mediums here. Yes, he does. Race Day, we can safely bet, is gone to the mediums, as well as probably Palmer. To the hards, rather. To the hards for Race Day, to the hards for Scoresy, and to the hards for Palmer. Callie Robb to the hards as well. Sui, as we've said, to the mediums here. So Sui, Gunner, and Houdini all pit for the mediums. Brett goes to the hards and now has a new front wing. Reimer has the lead, and I'll step aside until the safety car sorts itself out. So the safety car will be in at the end of this lap. Reimer will lead us back to green here. Curious to see the challenge he gets from Nikki64, being that Nikki's on the medium tires. Reimer's still on the hards. He won't have to pit for some time still, so if he can get away to a good enough advantage here, it may have been worth starting on said hard tires. Scavney in this as well, the Plums as well. Scavney on the soft tires, remember. Reimer looks like he's trying to get away early here. In through Wall of Champions they go. Behind Scornsy and Palmer already trying to swap positions here. Well, back to green flag racing we go. Reimer gets us underway. To the first corner he goes, unchallenged from Nikki64. But behind Race Day, oh, does he look to the left side of the Plums? Oh, he's certainly having a look there, but I don't think he's going to get it for this time. Although Race Day really went for it there on the Plums. That one would have been very close indeed. Going through the first and second corner, and he is still within position enough. Scornsy behind him, Palmer behind him. As the train looks to form here, down through and in towards turns 8 and 9 they go. Reimer already a second advantage over Nikki64. The question is now, is Scavney going to be able to hold on while the drivers charge behind them? As to the inside goes Race Day. What a dive there on the Plums. Has he got it? Yes, he does. He's done it cleanly. What a pass. And now they're still side by side. Scornsy in position. Contact being made there. Palmer watches on as he's not going to be able to challenge these two. Scornsy looks as Race Day and the Plums are side by side, heading towards Wall of Champions. This is only going to end well. Race Day still. Plums doesn't take it well. Scornsy's going to get down to the inside as Plums has to push wide, as Palmer's going to get the spot over the Plums too. And a great defense and maneuver from Race Day gets him up to fourth. Very nicely done there, but now the question is that is Scavney going to be able to reel in Nikki64, or is Race Day going to get to the AlphaTauri first? I have a feeling it's going to be the latter of the two options. Race Day looking very well. Scavney on the softs, as we've mentioned. Oh, and there it is. That's a slide from Scavney coming out of turn 7. Race Day will get around the AlphaTauri. Scornsy, well, I tell you what, Scavney actually kind of recovered that car well enough and has now separated Race Day and Scornsy here. Palmer's actually within 0.3 of a second. This may get close if they try something into the hairpin. No, not quite. Although Scavney will push wide. Scornsy's going to try to sneak his nose underneath. And I think they've kind of gotten away even enough to call this an evenly contested battle going down the Casino Straight, but up ahead, Race Day within 0.2 now of Nikki64. He's not going to have anything through Wall of Champions naturally, but Race Day right there, and he's going to try the inside, DRS enabled. Scornsy will get down to the inside of Scavney, 2x2 as they file through the first corner. So Race Day gets ahead of Nikki. Scornsy gets ahead of Scavney. That now means an extra car in between Palmer and Scavney here. Scavney being on the softs is going to be losing that grip very quickly. That will put Palmer a little bit further behind the Aston Martin, especially if there's so little overtaking room on this track. Although Scornsy now trying to look for something on Nikki64. He's not quite going to have it. But behind, now this is what Scornsy was hoping for. Scavney has still held off, got Palmer, maintains the 5th spot, as Scornsy now will have to find something on Nikki64. Well, he's not going to dive bomb him into the hairpin this time. Although it looks as if the two McLarens are going to invert position here. Reimer's now going to play defense as we have a yellow flag. Scavney's gone around, exiting the hairpin. And I have to think that with... Uh-oh, and I think Nicky... Well, Nicky's just been flat out overtaken by Scornsy there. While I think as far as Scavney, I think it may have just been the tires at this point because we saw him have the error coming out of turn 7. And I think maybe has he done that again. Well, he's staying out on track. Maybe it's not the tires. Maybe there was contact. Tough to tell. Typically, you don't see drivers spin it out going through turn 11. We have a yellow flag now. Scavney's actually lost the car again. This time going into turns 1 and 2. As now Palmer, 10th and a half back to Nicky. Is he going to try the inside? Yes, he will. And Palmer's going to get the spot over the Williams driver here. Up ahead, Scornsy's trying to challenge Reimer. Reimer, meanwhile, backing Scornsy up. 2nd and a half between Reimer and Race Day for the time being. Obviously, the pair of McLarens. Reimer's going to sandbag a little bit, exiting the hairpin. Scornsy will have DRS, but he'll need to make it happen now, which he's going to try to. He's going to go around the outside. They're going to be side by side. Well, I thought they were going to be side by side in the Wall of Champions. Matter of fact, Scornsy's actually done quite well there to make that move happen. The yellow flag. Oh, it's Brett drives fast. Exiting Wall of Champions there. Car's had a bit of a spin, but back underway. Oh, that was a big wiggle that time for Cali Robb. Tell you what, that car was right sideways coming out of going through that section of the track. That was a little scary there for the Ferrari driver, has to be said, but at the time being, Palmer within 0.2 of a second on Reimer here for the 3rd spot. Palmer's actually going to have to work for this one, and he's certainly going to try it. Reimer's gotten away ahead of him for now. I'm assuming once DRS is involved, Palmer will get past the McLaren here, but you never know. It took Scornsy quite a lot to get around Reimer. Let's see if that's going to be the case this time. Here goes Palmer. Looking to the left side. Be side by side here. I don't think they've got this one sorted quick enough. Yeah, they do finally. Palmer doesn't even get forced into a mistake going through Wall of Champions. But what may happen now is Sui. Can he get past Cali Robb here? Very much looking like he will. Through turn 1, and he does. Although he pushes way wide through 2, Cali Robb may have something to the inside. No, he's not going to this time. So Sui up to 6th. So 0.6 of a second separate Nicky 64 from Sui from Cali Robb. 3 cars battling here, all for the 5th spot. As through the hairpin they go. This is where the difference is going to be made. I think Sui may have the advantage for now. Cali Robb looks on as Sui's going to try the left-hand side of Nicky 64. Scornsy has now made his way within a second of Race Day here. For the first time since the safety car had come in. Bit of a slide there for Sui, but he gets away. And still at the head of this battle. Although Cali Robb not all that far behind. 2.5 tenths here. As Nicky 64 defending well for the time being. We'll check back with that in a minute. Scornsy is now within a second behind Race Day. That is going to be a good place to be. Race Day's been very, very quick all day long. As, you know, we're getting closer to halfway. We're not quite there yet. Well, here comes Sui. He's definitely looking forward on Cali Robb. And he's definitely going to get it round the outside. And will get past the Ferrari by the time they get into Wall of Champions. Nicely done for Sui. Well, hang on a minute here. Reimer has gotten down to the inside of Nicky 64. That going through 8 and 9. Again, a bit of an unorthodox place to make a move, but Reimer is charging up this grid right now. Up to 6th after pitting. He's made 4 spots. But now the question is can Cali Robb try to find his way back to Sui here? Is he going to try it to the left side? Yes, he will. Well, I tell you what, Cali Robb's going to get that one. Convincingly wouldn't be the right word, but he definitely has it. And Sui not close enough for the time being to strike back. At the top of the grid once more. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. You saw that. I saw that. It is now beginning to rain in Montreal. Coming up closer to 10 laps to go. This has thrown the incredible wrench into the plans of several drivers. And that is why we saw Reimer pit. He stayed out as long as he could. Do we see Reimer come in this lap and get the intermediates before anyone else? Or do we see that of Raceday or Scornsy take that risk? Actually, Scavney gets around. Brett drives fast into the Wall of Champions chicane. Neither of them decide to pit. And it is properly raining now. It'll take probably 2 or 3 laps to get the circuit to the point of needing intermediate tires. But if you're either one of these drivers in the top 2, you definitely got to start thinking about ways to get clever and to get around one another. This has suddenly turned into a very intriguing moment of the Grand Prix. 0.3 of a second between the top 2 here. Closest battle on track. As the rain begins to fall on lap 21. As we have a yellow flag. I think it's Nicky64. Yes, he's gone around. He's gone around at Wall of Champions, and he'll have to go another lap here. Houdini will be the first driver in to pit for, I'm assuming, the intermediate tires. Raceday leads Scornsy. DRS has yet to be disabled here. I'm assuming that it's going to be very shortly that DRS will get disabled. Once that happens, when the game tells the drivers that DRS is disabled, that is when the track is officially declared wet in the game to its own language. But for the time being, it is still possible. Reimer will actually get around Sui going through 8 and 9. Second time Reimer's found a move going through there, and he's up to 5th. DRS still activated. Down the back straight they go. Raceday and Scornsy follow one another into the pit lane. Raceday actually had to go a bit sideways there to scrub off more speed. Palmer follows suit. I'm assuming we'd see Cali Robb do the same. Intermediate tires coming on. There is the notice. DRS has been disabled, and we're looking like it could shape up to be a very entertaining final 10 laps of this Grand Prix. Cali Robb has picked up a 5-second penalty, unfortunately, for speeding into the pit lane, which will happen on a greasy track surface like this. Reimer comes in, fits the intermediates. He will fall. Well, actually, I don't think he will, because he'll actually stay ahead of Sui here. So everybody on their way in now. Just Nicky and Gunnar, the final 2 on dry compounds, and that's going to change here very shortly. So now the battle is a battle of consistency between these two, between Scornsy and Raceday. 2 drivers that have been in a very patient battle the entirety of the Grand Prix, as we're having a pit lane exit battle here. Gunnar Addy gets out ahead of the Plums. Nicky falls back to 10th. Exiting turn 11 now. Down the casino straight. Raceday has the advantage. Scornsy trying to climb up as much as he can. He's not got DRS anymore, you gotta think. 0.4 of a second, perhaps Scornsy's car was better with that DRS available. And the straight line speed, as Brett drives fast, 5 seconds for corner cutting, up to 8 for him. But is the question that Raceday, that car will drive better. Oh, and the car's gone round ahead of the 2. Hopefully Brett can get that car situated. And he does. Reimer now to the inside of Cali Robb, going down the pit straight, and Reimer's up to 4th. Well, he's made the move into the first corner, which we don't often see. And Reimer, after having an unorthodox pit stop, gets up to the 4th spot. I think where he started anyways. Because we have another yellow flag. Yeah, Reimer started fourth, is currently fourth. Race day started on pole, is still in that first spot. Scornsy got around Palmer off the start. Callie Robb still fifth. Sui up 1, Houdini up 6, currently driver of the day. As behind we go. It's Nikki 64, 2/10 back to Gunner. Meanwhile, atop the grid here, going through Wall of Champions, it's 4/10 between Race Day and Scornsy. Scornsy now has a look to the inside, just a small peek. Of course, he's not going to make that move happen now. He's going to wait for Race Day to make a mistake, and then Scornsy will have the ability to overtake. But for now, they go through turns 1 and 2 all square. Scornsy 3.5 tenths behind, but any sort of error by the McLaren ahead will be felt and met with force. Scavney on his way into the pit lane. I believe, has he replaced a front wing? That could be my guess. Oh, well, that was a big slide for Race Day coming out of turn 4. Somehow, he's not hit a wall or picked up a penalty. That was very, very close indeed to being detrimental for the McLaren. 0.3 of a second. Scornsy back to Race Day here. Through turns 8 and 9, all square still. And now that Scornsy doesn't have DRS in play, that may hinder him. Has to be said, that car looked very well with DRS. But again, Race Day's acceleration and kind of overall cornering ability really has been what set these two apart. As we have a yellow flag, Brett Drives Fast has retired. Coming out of turn 9, there he is. And the safety car on track. Well, with almost too much time left in this race, according to Race Day, the safety car in. Or, well, out at this point. So, Race Day pits. Fresh intermediates from him. Scornsy not far behind as well. Palmer, we're assuming the same. Reimer still out on track. I don't think he's going to improve any positions whether he stays out or not. May get it over Palmer. Nobody's going to decide to into the pit lane here for Reimer. Seeing a lot of guys pit for new tires. The only one who hasn't done so is actually Scavney attempting to unlap himself here. He will file in between Scornsy and Palmer. Sui into the pit lane. Callie Robb, I think, actually replaced a front wing. So, less than 10 laps to go. Safety car on track. Wet conditions. Montreal. Well, that's about as good of a combination as it's going to get. I'm going to step aside while the safety car sorts itself out. Safety car in at the end of this lap. We'll get back to green flag racing on lap 30 of 35. 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 6 laps of racing remain at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Race Day looking to hold on and take a win. Scornsy looking to challenge and take a win. Palmer looking to negate a 3-second time penalty. Reimer could be on the podium. Callie Robb could be on the podium if he stays there. We've lost Travis Scott and we've lost Brett Drives Fast. But what we are not losing now is any sort of action. Green flag back in the air. And here they go. Reimer already to the inside of Palmer. Going through turn 1. He'll have to have the outside through 2. Race Day may have had a bit of a slip there. Reimer, does he try to hold on? Well, he's almost gotten into the side of Palmer. Exiting turn 1 instead. Well, the top 5 will actually remain the same here. Race Day, oh, and Reimer's gone well over. Oh, and goodness me, Reimer has crashed. And the safety car out again. Well, you hardly saw it, but Reimer had gone across the grass going through turns 3 and 4. He missed the chicane. I have to think perhaps as he got an oversteer or maybe just lost control of the car and crashed it on its own. That is a very unfortunate turn of events there for a McLaren team that was looking like it could be on for a double podium. Instead, Race Day will no longer have the comfort or defense of having his teammate nearby. And we are back under safety car once more. I'm assuming this is going to be a quick one. I'm going to step aside one more time, although I don't expect it to be more than a lap or two. So the safety car will be in at the end of this lap, and it has to be said, that rain is coming down in droves. You can start to see it puddling up on the surface. Had this rain been like this about 10 laps ago, we may even be on the full wets at this point, but no, we'll have 3 laps left of racing between 2 champions, one of them former, one of them reigning. Goodness me, we are on for a showdown here between Race Day and Scornsy. These two drivers have had many of matches between each other in recent seasons, in recent history, in recent memory. And here it is, a memory perhaps after this race. In this final season of F1 23. Here we go then, 3 laps to go, we're back to green. Scornsy behind Race Day, 0.3 of a second. Through turns 1 and 2, Swee and Got Palmer file behind. Cali Robb in position here. Actually, Cali Robb will step on the podium should he hold on to this kind of gap that he's got going with Swee. 0.7 ahead. Palmer only 4 ahead of him. Oh, that was a big slide there from Swee. Nearly lost it. Cali Robb has gained back a couple of extra tenths there. Cali Robb was almost collected by Swee as well, in fairness, but look at how hard the rain is coming down here. The puddles, standing water now being made on the surface here. Very much in wet tire, full wet tire conditions. Bring out the monsoons. We can't. There's not enough time left to stop and have it be a feasible opportunity. It is going to be driving on icicles, aquaplaning the entirety of the way left in the Grand Prix here. And you have to say, you'd give the advantage to Race Day with how well he's held the car so far. Cali Robb will get to 4th on track. Of course, he's probably going to have a fair shot of getting past Palmer on penalties for the 3rd spot. And now 2 laps to go. Next time out, the final race of the season, of the game, at the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg, Austria. But for the time being, it's mano a mano here for the win in the Canadian Grand Prix. One of the most entertaining and one of the most sought-after victories any driver could have here in Midwest. As you know, this league has had a lot of Canadian influence over the years, and it still does. This is a massive race for all those involved. It's a race I look forward to every single year. And for the time being, Scornsy is 0.4 of a second away. He will have to work to get past Race Day. There's no doubt about that. But Scornsy, what he can't do now is make any sort of mistake that sends him down the order. If he does that, that could realistically wrap up a championship for Palmer. I don't think it's going to happen today, if I've done my math correctly. But if Scornsy loses the car and falls down to 9th even, yep, that could be very detrimental. But down the casino straight they go. Race Day will go through the wall of champion chicane for the penultimate time. And the final lap of the Grand Prix is now underway. It's 2.5 of a second between them as they go through turn 1. Both very even here, looking for any sort of advantage they can. Scornsy's going to try to tuck the nose on the inside, coming off of 2, but he's gotten a little squirrely on exit. Race Day will pull ahead. It's 4.5 of a second the gap, as now they make their way through 3 and 4. Remember, still in the wet conditions here. I would assume both of these drivers at least on 1 or 2 track limits warning penalties. It could be decided that way. Still about half a lap to go here. It's 0.7 of a second. Race Day looking well. Scornsy on the back foot, has to be said. Down the straight they go, heading towards turns 8 and 9. It doesn't appear as if there's going to be that much in it then. Scornsy has to hope for a miracle exiting the hairpin or exiting Wall of Champions to have a shot at taking home this Grand Prix victory. Through the hairpin they go. And Race Day for the time being, yes he has. He's gotten away well. Maybe a little squirrely, but not enough to sound the alarm bells, at least in my head. Race day will lead them going down the casino straight now and heading towards Wall of Champions for the final time. Coming through the final couple of corners, Race Day, who started on pole, had to work and had to defend Scornsey all race long, but will win the Canadian Grand Prix. Scornsey second, Palmer looks like he'll keep third. Yes, he will, by about 2 seconds over Cali Robb. Swee will go down to sixth. Houdini up several positions here, 8 to be exact. Plums, Gunner, and Scavney actually all went to the wet tires. And Scavney across the line. Oh, well, that's one way to do it, I'm sure. Well, that'll do it for us here. Hotspot, it's been a pleasure joining you. Be sure to tune in next week when we head to Spielberg for the final round of the season. Race Day, your winner.